Good evening, fellow Americans. Did you ever wonder how 401ks, mutual funds, really make money? Most people think that they have professional investment bankers who have made millions trading in the stock market on their staffs, effectively beating the market, constantly making millions. Now think about it. If you were one of those people on their staff investing 401k money and making millions for the fund, why would you want to work for them to make them rich when you could borrow a couple thousand on your credit cards to begin with? Quickly pay off the credit cards and make millions for yourself instead. I mean, that's what I would do. If I work for them, I have to get out of bed early, to go to work early, come home late, all to get paid the peanuts that they would pay me. If I really could make millions in the stock market, I could sleep late, work when I felt like it, and tell them to go jump in the lake. Also, if the owners of those 401k funds could invest in the stock market and consistently make millions, then why not just do it with their own winnings and keep compounding those winnings to make themselves super rich? Why bother with hiring investment bankers to do the work of investing, having to put up with the headaches of having employees, paying unemployment comp, workers' comp, health care, and complying with complex tax rules, along with a big, expensive office? Why not just eliminate all that and operate as a lone investment gambler and spend your time living the good life? Why do they so aggressively seek tiny amounts of monthly contributions from low-income people like us? After all, it's a lot of work. The labor which they have to pay for to create those phony statements that they send to us, and making excuses on the phone, and listening to hysterical victims who are now terrified because they're getting only a fraction of the money they put in actually returned to them. Most of all, why on earth would they have a desire to make us money? So let's get real. They don't. The sole purpose of their business is to make money for themselves. The real reason they seek our money is that we are the real source of the money and the source of their income. But of course, they aren't going to tell us that, because if they did, we would not give them any more money. They want us to keep blindly giving them money. Your employer, who doesn't know a stock from a rock, figures a retirement program will keep you from quitting after he spent a lot of money training you for the job. The 401k people seduce you with the expectation of $1.5 to $2 million after 30 years in order to get you to sign a contract which prevents you from suing them by forcing you to agree to risk and gives them exclusive rights and control over all monies you give them. What? Exclusive rights and control of all monies, and you can't sue them? Now, according to Webster's dictionary, because I looked it up, the definition of ownership is the state of having exclusive rights and control over property. Well, money's property. Boing. They now own the money you gave them. I will repeat. They now own the money you gave them, and you can't sue them. See, the statements are the hook. Oh, I put in $2,000 and it went up. See, he's hooked. If you don't believe what I'm saying, then just try to get back all the money you gave them. Forget about any interest. Just try to get back only what you gave them. You can't do it. You won't believe all the phony excuses they have to give you back a lot less money. And if you can't get it back now, what makes you think you can get it back 20 years from now? When you phone them, you ask, "How much do I have?" If they tell you your account is $2, you can't do anything about it. See, you can't sue them, and they own the money. If you go to the website truthaboutwallstreet.ca, the first 8-minute video on the home page done by Bloomberg News exposes hidden fees that these swindlers use to harvest money for themselves. 78 million newly retired people are terrified because the average for all 78 million is a scant $60,000, not the 1.5 million they were seduced with. What do you do when you're 69 years old with stage 2 diabetes, gout, 3 herniated discs, plantar fasciitis, you had your first heart attack, and your only income is Social Security? And 20 years from now, Social Security may not even be there. If a few jobs are available, and you might be healthy enough to work, how can you take that job away from a younger person? Complain to your friends, and they'll say, "You just didn't do your homework. Mine is different." But the same thing is happening to them. They just don't know it. Yet. All 401ks and mutual funds work this way. It is how they really make money. How many of you saw your 401k fund balance drop during the fall of 2008? My daughter called her fund people, and they told her that her account balance went down because the stock market took a tumble. But you got to think long term. Wait a minute. When they were seducing her with the expectation of great wealth, 1.5 million after 30 years, they said that their investment technicians constantly were making millions in the stock market. Why didn't they do it this time? Another point. Any stock trader with any ability at all knows that more money is made by short selling than with the system of buying at a low price and selling at a high price. Here's how short selling works. You want to buy 100 shares of IBM at $50 per share because you are certain that it will go up to $80 per share. I see this, so I make you an offer of selling you that stock at $45 per share, but request that you give me 60 days to produce the stock. You think it's a great deal because you're now up $5 per share, and you also know that you can do the same thing also. You know this is on the level. So we do the trade. 30 days goes by, IBM goes down to $20 per share, which I buy it at. Then I give you the 100 shares that I promised to produce, and I did it 30 days early. I made money, and you didn't. So since this is such a common strategy that is extremely effective, why didn't they do this? Here's the answer to that question. First of all, by law, they don't have to tell anyone what they do with the money because they are the owners of the money. Remember? Exclusive rights and control, and you can't sue them. So clearly they have lied twice. Bernie Madoff, who over 42 years pulled off the largest Ponzi scheme in history, $65 billion from almost 17,000 victims, used a different strategy to swindle investors. In his case, he issued statements which constantly went up in value, 1% per month or 12% per year. He proved that one could run a Ponzi scheme for 42 years straight without getting caught. He never bought a share of stock, but everyone thought he did. A Ponzi scheme is a very simple scam where the crook pays former investors with new investors' money. Of course, he makes up a plausible story to fool his victims, but it's just a lie. However, when investors asked for their money back, he gave it all back plus the 12% compounded interest that he promised. Those that pulled all their money out before he went broke made out like bandits. Those that didn't, which was almost everyone, lost everything. See, if people believe that they are really making a high return on their money, they try hard to leave as much money in their account as possible so they can get as much of a high return as possible, and that is why people resisted taking all their money out. All the 401ks use a different strategy. They use stock market drops and huge fees as an excuse to siphon money out of their victims' accounts, which are reflected by the statements. When the stock market drops, they use this lower account balance printed on the statements. Then, if the victim panics and wants to close his account, they hit him with a big early withdrawal penalty, plus other redemption penalties, thus giving back very little of what they originally collected from the victim. Remember, they can do this because the money in the victim's account is actually theirs, and the victim can't sue them. So they actually have a license to steal. How are they able to get away with it, you ask? Well, our government, led by Congress, does a pretty good job of protecting us from a lot of threats. The Army, CIA, FBI do a pretty good job of protecting us from terrorists. Center for Disease Control protects us from horrible epidemics. OSHA protects us from on-the-job safety hazards. Food and Drug Administration protects us from poisonous foods and drugs. And the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation protects our bank account. But Congress does not protect us from the swindlers in the investment banking industry because Congress people badly need campaign money to get elected, and the only source of that is from the very rich who have obtained their wealth by swindling us with their 401k mutual funds and banking scams. The Wall Street banksters shower Congress with money so that those who want to rein in these thieves just don't get elected. When we think of the super rich, we think of people like Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Oprah, but people like them who made their money honestly represent only 10% of the super rich. The remainder made it on Wall Street by swindling investors. Each one can easily shell out $80 million for a senator's election campaign with pocket change. It's like us on Main Street contributing a quarter out of our pocket. These super rich people don't need all the money they have. It's a game to them, recreation. And money is where they keep score. When we think of an entire industry as a group, we think of them as being basically honest. The garment industry, food industry, medical industry, auto industry, real estate industry, construction industry, we think of them as being basically honest, and if not, the government will pounces on them. The deposit banking industry, which does our checking accounts, auto loans, credit cards, is only honest because the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation will pounce on them and prosecute. But the investment banking industry, the group that does 401k mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, is an outright fraud because they constantly get away with swindling investors and always have. The problem is that we on Main Street just didn't know about it because they didn't want us to. So we became victims. If you think that the statements can't be lies, then go to the website truthaboutwallstreet.ca and press the fraudulent statements button to see just how easy it is. Joyce Greenberg was a professional registered stockbroker for 30 years. Nothing on the statements she received from Bernie Madoff aroused suspicion for all 30 years. They were complete and total fiction. She and her family lost everything. But you don't have to be their victim. You can stop giving them money immediately and put the money instead into a bank account to create an emergency fund, as Susie Orman recommends. Single people should have a minimum of $15,000, and families should have a minimum of $30,000. True, you won't get this mythical, never stated, delusional high yield, but all the money you put in will be there when you need it because it is guaranteed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation up to $100,000. Also, ask the mutual fund to give you back your money. You will only get a small portion of it, but consider it a cheap lesson. At least it's not happening at retirement. My statements are very bold, but if you want to see the proof, go to the website truthaboutwallstreet.ca. Watch the videos from Steve Croft of the show 60 Minutes, David Faber of the Stock Market Channel, CNBC, Anderson Cooper of CNN, Bloomberg News, Fox News, Rachel Maddow of MSNBC, History Channel, Bill Moyers of PBS, Senator McCaskill, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Carl Evans, Congressman Alan Grayson, Congressman Barney Frank, Congressman Garamendi. These are the sources that got my attention and stimulated me to create this website. Until 2009, when these documentaries were first broadcast by these very credible broadcast news agencies and congresspeople, I knew little more than you viewers. But after studying over 100 of these, which are posted on the website for easy access, I am enraged by what the investment banking industry has always done and continues to do to us on Main Street. Its only purpose is to make money for themselves, and that is why they make so much money for themselves, and can fund Congress with pocket change. It is the fact that they lie and swindle us to enrich themselves that causes my anger, because I, my family, and people I love have been victims. As Michael Lewis, author of the books The Big Short and Liar's Poker, said, the investment banking industry, of which 401k mutual funds are a part of, is nothing but an enormous parasite on the American economy. It serves no good social purpose for society. It serves only to further enrich the very, very rich. What the investment banking industry is supposed to do is allocate capital for small businesses. And small businesses are the prime creator of jobs, 70% of the jobs. You can stop giving money to the 401k mutual funds and take back whatever small amount they will give you, and can refuse to allow them to seduce you into any other investment sold by the investment banking industry, also known as Wall Street. Life is tough enough without having your money swindled from you so that they can be richer. The things you do today determine what your life will be like in the future. God bless you all, and thank you for listening.